gentlemen, and welcome to the Ice Vault here in Wayne, New Jersey, the site of tonight's 2026 Gordon Cup semifinal, featuring two top three teams in the Garden State for their fourth meeting of the 2025-2026 season, with a spot in next Wednesday night's Gordon Cup final on the line. On this not as chilly as it's been Wednesday night, February the 11th, here in North Jersey, as we get set for some prep rivalry hockey, a battle between two Bergen County foes to send one of them ahead to the Gordon Cup final. My name is Ryan Hulsebos. Thrilled to have you with us this evening live on Black Bear TV at Rink 1 of the Ice Vault as we buckle in for 45 minutes of hockey action between Don Bosco Prep, the number 2 team according to NJ.com, and St. Joseph Regional in Montvale, number 3 in New Jersey, for what is their fourth and very likely not their final meeting this season, as it's been a defensive and goal-keeping showcase throughout the first 3 meetings between these two fierce rivals. All 3 games thus far. The season opener back in early December, and then 2 January meetings, the latter being the Bergen County final, have been decided by just 1 tally, and those 2 January meetings both required extra hockey to be played after the 3rd period buzzer sounded. And after splitting their 2 2024-2025 games last season, Don Bosco has the game advantage this season, with the Green Knights looking to split the season series at 2 apiece ahead of next week's Gordon Cup final between the winner of Delbarton and St. Augustine Prep tomorrow night, and ahead of the New Jersey non-public tournament set to begin in about 2 weeks' time. The Ironmen of Don Bosco enter tonight's semifinal with a record of 17 wins and 3 losses, and a tie with the top-ranked Delbarton back in early January, led by head coach and Don Bosco alum, the all-time leading scorer for Bosco, that's Greg Tosco coach, in his 20th season leading the Ironmen. And on the flip side, his head coach Matt Juno in his 3rd season as head coach. The Green Knights entered the evening with a record of 14 wins, 3 losses, and also a tie back in mid-December with the Delbarton Green Wave. These 2 teams know each other very well. This is their 11th meeting over the past 6 seasons, 14th dating back to 2016. Yet it is just their first ever meeting in the Gordon Cup, as Bosco seeks their 5th title, St. Joe's seeking their 1st Gordon Cup title in program history, looking to add some hardware this season alongside their Bergen County crown. The 86th semifinal of the Gordon Cup, a spot in next Wednesday night's championship game, the final, to be played at Cody Arena in West Orange, 7 p.m. start. They'll face the winner of tomorrow night's semifinal between the top-ranked Delbarton and St. Augustine Prep. Well, let's not fast forward too quickly. We have 45 minutes of hockey ahead of us, and as I mentioned off the top, if it's going to be anything like the previous 3 matchups this season between these 2 teams, we are in for a thriller here tonight. SJR, the Green Knights, they're in all white with gold helmets. The Ironmen of Don Bosco in the maroon helmets with the white trimming. A 2-1 final to start the season back in early December. It was Don Bosco a 2-1 win. Fast forward to January the 16th, a 2-1 Don Bosco win, and St. Joe's took care of business on the 22nd of January. 2-1 overtime win. Those 2 January games, both overtime wins. And that one coming to the Bergen County Tournament Final. Nunziato's been having a fantastic season. Both of our 2 goalies this evening, Nunziato as well as Gabe Florio for St. Joe's, having great seasons. Nunziato up over 92% save percentage this season. Gabe Florio has saved just under 93% of the shots he's faced. Ranks 6th in the save percentage, and he ranks 2nd in the Gordon Conference. Bosco, an early opportunity into the back of the net. Aaron Beelan, the sophomore, gets the goal scoring started. A minute, 6 seconds into the Gordon Cup semifinal. It was a shot on goal that got saved by Florio, and then Beelan was right there, far post, to hammer that one home. And Bosco takes an early 1-0 lead. A game where we weren't really expecting too much in terms of goal scoring. because just how fantastic the two goalies have been. I mean, I was just talking about their save percentages this season. Florio, one of the best in not just the state, also in the Gordon Conference, which by all accounts is arguably the top hockey conference in the state. Top 5 teams in New Jersey, all hailing from the Gordon Cup. We're going to face off to the right of NJSIAA, who approaches 450 saves in his 1+ year varsity career. A couple saves last season, and as a freshman and as a sophomore this season, taking over as the full-time starter. A lot of sophomores on both teams. Juniors as well for St. Joe's. Their first line is all juniors, their first forward line. Here's Bosco, chance on the shorthand. In front, Ryan Murphy, the shorthanded goal for the Ironmen as they jump out to a 2-0 lead with 6:35 left to play in the opening period. The senior Murphy, his 8th goal, 20th point here in 2025-2026, follows up a goal in Monday night's quarterfinal win over Seton Hall Prep. His 12th career goal for the senior captain, Ryan Murphy, makes the score 2-0, Don Bosco. Jason as well as Max Juno, both juniors, twins. Coach Matt Juno, in my conversation with him before the game got underway, great save there by Florio, but said that he's gotten a chance to coach Jason a little bit more than he has Max. Looks like we have a broken stick, and another goal into the back of the net for Don Bosco. This time it's Nico Papacristo, 22 in maroon, his 10th goal here in 2025-2026. The senior with his 20th point here this season, 25th goal of his career. Don Bosco sprints out to a 3-0 lead here in the 2026 Gordon Cup semifinal. 3:31 left to play in our opening period, and it is all Don Bosco. Was not expecting this, especially after the previous 3 games, as I mentioned, between these two teams. 2-1 Bosco, 2-1 Bosco, and then 2-1 St. Joe's, with the latter 2 games ending regulation at a goal apiece. Took overtime for Don Bosco to win the January 16th matchup, and then the January 22 Bergen County final was a 2-1 victory, and Bosco is loading it up here. Preston Farrell, the sophomore, gets in on the goal scoring. His 21st goal here in 2025-2026 season. A 4-0 Don Bosco lead. Just 20 seconds after the last Don Bosco goal scored by Papacristo, as Florio is, I don't even know if you can really say it's on him, because that time it was Farrow just dunking his way through the defense. A one-on-one with Florio puts home the 4th goal of the evening for Don Bosco. We approach our final minute in the first period. There's a shot on goal. That was Chris Conklin, the sophomore, who let that one go. Just off the mark, wide of the far pipe. Here's a shot saved off the right shoulder of Gabe Florio. Bosco able to get back on puck. Braden Scally, another shot on goal, saved by Florio. And behind for Chris Conklin, the sophomore. Finds Jack Ford, had an assist on the last goal. Back to Conklin, who escaped behind Cage. Back out to the point. Good look there by Braden Scally. In front, Florio, a great save. Puck still loose, now behind Florio, and pushed out there by Greg Zimmer, the junior, as it snuck under Greg Florio's, or between his legs, underneath him, and it was a loose puck. I'm right here behind the St. Joe's goal, and it had a Bosco stick in there, and fortunately for St. Joe's, Greg Zimmer was able to send it back across the defensive blue line for St. Joe's. Inside 10 seconds here in our first period. Bosco still applying the pressure, looking for another goal, as we'll get to the end of the first period. Just this game alone, St. Joe's has allowed a 5th of the total amount of goals that they had allowed all season. 20 goals against coming into the afternoon against Florio. 23 total goals against in total coming into this evening. And Bosco already a 4-0 lead. Now 16 minutes through the 2025-26 Gordon Cup semifinal. Kyle Delaney is on puck. Delivered a big hit in the middle of the ice to be able to fight for that loose puck. And now behind. Stick of Nico Papakisto, third goal scorer for Don Bosco. Puck was punched off the stick of Mark Ruger, but the Ironmen able to keep control. Another thing to note, we mentioned it in the first period, Don Bosco a full day's rest. As for St. Joe's, only an evening of rest, and Bosco strikes again. Florio had made a nice save with his left blocker, and then a loose puck gobbled up and put into the back of the net. Looks like the senior Jack Ashton is the goal scorer, his 6th goal here in 2025-2026. Had an assist on one of the first period goals. It's all Don Bosco here this evening, a 5-0 lead as we approach 17 minutes through the Gordon Cup semifinal. Bosco sent it across their offensive blue line, and St. Joe's returns the favor. Loose puck at mid-ice, controlled by Leo McCullough. Sends a pass in front to the stick of Preston Farrow. Farrow unable to control it. Here comes the Green Knights the other way. Puck at the stick of Jason Juneau, the junior, battling with a handful of maroon jerseys. Sent back in front, wide of the far pipe. That shot off the stick there of Dante Mangarelli, the senior captain. Opportunity now for Joe's, and a great save by Alex Annunziato. Had to go to the splits there to get his left blocker on it. Good opportunity there for Kyle Kondratowicz and the Green Knights. He's got a bit of a give and go to the far face-off spot. And one more pass for Kondratowicz. He was unable to finish. We hit the 5-minute mark here in our second period. Right blocker save there by Annunziato to keep the score 5-0. And that time as Bosco was looking to clear, sent a road pass up into the St. Joe's bench. We will get a face-off to the left of Ironman goalie Alex Annunziato, just a sophomore this season. In 3 games, now 4 games this season, coming into the evening, 3 games versus St. Joe's, a 95.6% save percentage. Again, he's pitched a 95+% save percentage in 7 games this season, up over 90% in 13 of 19 games. St. Joe's gets on the board for their first goal of the evening. Goal scored by the junior, Jason Juneau, his 10th goal of the season. As St. Joe's will cut the deficit down 2-4. Bosco a 5-1 lead with 4:41 left to play. St. Joe's will get the goalie, Gabe Florio, back on the ice. Bosco pops the puck up into the air. 45 seconds left on the St. Joe's power play as they are back to 5-on-4. So what they did is, starting with a face-off deep in the Don Bosco end, rather than starting 5-on-4, they opted, head coach Matthew Juneau, the 2024 NJ Coach of the Year, opted to start with it as 6-on-4. A couple dangerous circumstances as loose pucks were flailing their way towards the St. Joe's empty net. But the Green Knights able to get back on those pucks, keeps the score at 5-1. Right blocker save there by Annunziato. Kicks it back into the middle of the Don Bosco defensive end. St. Joe's able to get back on puck. Penalty is released. We're back to 5-on-5 hockey. And a great clear there by Aaron Beelan, the sophomore, from his knees, able to clear the defensive end for Don Bosco. Inside 7 minutes. 6:13 left to play in period number 3. Another power play opportunity for St. Joe's, and just as They started out of the timeout just a couple minutes ago. St. Joe's opting to go 6-on-4. They pull the goalie, Gabe Florio. So an extra skater out there for the Green Knights. Shot on goal there, Nikita Bogatrev. Not sure if it got knocked down by a Don Bosco defender or if Annunziato was able to get his right blocker on it. A loose puck, down ice, off the near pipe. Keeps our score at 5-1 as we're inside 6 minutes. Don Bosco sent a loose puck the other way in the direction of the St. Joe's goal. We'll see if they do it again here. A collision there, and on the Don Bosco defensive third, excuse me. St. Joe's with the two-man advantage here. Able to get back on puck in their defensive third, across mid-ice, and across the Don Bosco defensive blue line. A shot off the stick of the junior Jason Juno, off the Don Bosco defender, and up into the netting behind the Don Bosco goal. He will get a face-off to the left of Don Bosco goalie Alex Annunziato. 25 saves here on the evening. Fourth meeting between these two teams. The first two were one-goal games, and the latter two went to overtime. This one much different. Bosco was all over St. Joe's early, a 4-0 first period advantage. They take this one home 5-1 and punch their ticket to next Wednesday's Gordon Cup final.